Might as well be holding gold right now. NZXT's starter PC series now starts at $699 and gives you everything you need to get into the world of PC. Available in multiple configurations, the starter PC can be tailored to meet your budget and needs and are the perfect way to build a work or learn from home setup while still being capable of 1080p 60 FPS gaming and popular titles like Fortnite, Rainbow Six Siege, and League of Legends. All of NZXT PCs come backed with a 2-year warranty on parts, labor, and RAM overclocking, helping to guarantee the best gaming possible for your build. To see the full list of specs and pricing on the NZXT Starter PC series, click the link in the description below.
Hey, listen up. This is going to be a talking head video, and if you don't want to see Jay's face, you might want to just minimize this video. All right? Thanks.
Shut up!
All right, so following social media, I get off of social media a lot lately, and then I kind of get on and like, what are people talking about? And I'm noticing that there's kind of two things happening here. So I thought maybe it's important to do a state of PC gaming video to more or less inform the people that are new to this space going, what the heck, has it always been this crazy with computers? To sort of give you some information on what's happening here, because there's multiple fronts happening when it comes to the pricing of computers. So let's go ahead and rewind back to the beginning of 2020. You know, it's like the 20 series was already well into its life cycle. Ryzen 3000 series was already out. We were waiting on Zen 2. And so it's one of those things where a lot of people were in this sort of a holding pattern, kind of going, oh, I know new stuff's coming, I wanna wait. In fact, we've preached it all the time. If you're a certain amount of time into a refresh cycle or a family of GPU or CPU, you kind of get an idea of what's coming next and when it's coming. There's patterns that have really just held up for decades now on how long this stuff sort of sticks around. And so a lot of people waited in 2020 to kind of build their rigs or their systems because they know that the beginning of the year is usually kind of the worst time to buy stuff, because we know that right around summertime / beginning of fall is when the newest announcements happen. So a lot of people waited. Well, obviously with the pandemic, a lot of people were forced to upgrade or buy their computers early because of being forced to work from home, learn from home type of situations. And so we saw a massive growth in purchasing at that point, which put a strain on demand. TSMC, for a while there, had to kind of shut down production and sort of pull back because they also were under quarantine orders and such, which, you know, there's the mining of the raw materials, all of that slowed down. So you kind of had this increased demand happening at the same time production was at its lowest that we've probably ever seen because of the way the pandemic affected all of that as a system. So once stuff started to come out, once we started to see an increase in production, we saw the release of the 30 series GPUs, which had the biggest price to performance performance to price increase that we had seen since prior to Pascal. So that also increased demand because people were like, wow, we're actually gonna get great graphics cards at a price that makes sense. Well, because of the fact that the demand was up, the production was down, we saw them sell out immediately. That then invites scalpers to say, hey, there's profit here, profiteering on going, okay, we'll send out our, believe it or not, there's groups of people that coordinate where they go, how many people go where, who gets what, and then they all kind of collectively pool their stuff together, they scalp them as a group, and then they divide all of the profits amongst them. There's just entire groups dedicated to doing this, and they follow trends. It was the biggest thing with shoes. We saw a lot of those scalping bots created because of the shoes and apparel market with limited edition runs on like Yeezys and things like that. Well, those groups will follow wherever the money is, and right now, that is our circle. We're kind of used to being off on the side and people going, oh, you PC nerds, we don't care about you guys. Well, they've realized there's a lot of profit over here. That is kind of the two major things that led to where we are today. But there's something happening now that's something that we haven't seen in about 5 years, and that is the cryptocurrency mining boom happening once again. The last time we saw this was when the 10 series and the 400 series graphics cards from Radeon and the 10 series from NVIDIA, the RX 480 being the mining monster because it was affordable and it had a massive hash rate, which made it a great money-making tool. It was inexpensive to create these farms, these not render farms, but mining farms out of just dozens and dozens of RX 480s. And then we saw the 500 series after that. But RX 480s were just the best bang for the buck when it came to mining. Now, a lot of people might be going, well, wait a minute, if the mining craze happened and then it crashed, and now we're seeing it happen again, didn't people make ASICs that were way better at mining than graphics cards? That is absolutely true. But one of the things that we saw with the mining crash back in 2016, 2017 was that people stopped manufacturing the ASICs because they were no longer profitable because people weren't mining so much, and therefore the ASICs were no longer being updated and optimized for the various algorithms and math that's having to happen when it comes to Bitcoin. Now, Ethereum at the time was just starting to kind of pick up, and it never took off like Bitcoin. In fact, back then when Bitcoin hit $17,000 per coin, which is absolutely outrageous at that time because they were hovering around $200-300 for the longest time per coin. That led people to wanting to get into mining once again. And the cheapest way to get into it without paying the outrageous price of ASICs, which were designed specifically for whatever coin it was that they were mining, was through graphics cards. Well, people are doing it once again, and they're finding that the 2070 was actually an amazing card when it came to its hash rate, the 3060 Ti also being an amazing card when it comes to hash rate. You've got scalpers, you've got not low quality, you got great quality cards, but you got low quantity, high demand because you've got multiple people wanting the cards for different reasons. But one of the biggest reasons that we're seeing graphics cards be as expensive as they are is not because of their low demand or their low quantity versus demand or supply and demand, which is very true. It's the fact that it's not just gamers that are saying, I want my graphics card and I want a game. See, as a gamer, this is the way it kind of works. You're building your one or your two systems, maybe for your kids or your wife and you, and maybe one or two at a time. Some people may be buying three. They get their graphics card, they put it in, they're no longer demand. They're off the table. And the reason why we haven't seen graphics card pricing normalize is because gamers are not the demand right now. We as gamers like to think, hey, this is a gaming graphics card. It's for us, we're the demand. But you're really not right now. Because what's happening is miners are always going, I want another one. I want another one. I want another one. Because every time you add another card to your rig, it's another money-making tool. Because it's a money-making tool is why you're seeing the price be outrageous and stay outrageous. Because anything designed to make money costs money. And that is a scale at which, how much money can this tool make you? This tool can make you a ton of money. This tool is going to cost you a ton of money. So you're not going to see pricing start to normalize again until we see the cryptocurrency boom that we're in right now burst once again. And mark my words, it will burst once again, because what's happening right now is you're having the major mining farms that are popping up all over the world. China, you'll see mining farms there where giant warehouses are nothing but thousands of graphics cards mining, which is creating another situation right now in the world, which we've seen before, which is the increased demand of electricity. Now, depending on what your stance is on the environment, electricity is often generated by burning coal and a lot of coal burning factories, which generate the electricity. So now you're seeing increased pollution because of mining. And, you and I taking our, one or two graphics cards that you may have and mining, that in a small micro form is not creating a huge demand or increase of environmental pollution. But you have 2 million extra people now mining. That is an increase of electricity costs, just like electric cars have increased electricity costs. Electric cars have increased demand on the factories. You kind of take the demand and you whack-a-mole it, right? Okay, we're now fossil fuel, but now electricity is up. The same thing is kind of happening right now with graphics cards and mining, where it's increased probability of making money with it has increased the cost. Now, what will probably happen again, we'll probably see ASICs start to make their way into the market again, because right now at the time of making this video, Bitcoin is about $70,000 per coin. I said earlier, 17,000 was absolutely astronomical just to even consider that. People were losing their minds because they were like, oh my God, I sold when it was at 3,000. Oh, I could have made so much more. If you sold your wallet and you had 2 or 3 coins in there at $1,000, because on the 17,000, when it came back down, a lot of people sold at $1,000 because as it crossed that mark, they're looking at that as going lost opportunity. Man, if you had just held on to that right now, imagine what that would be worth, because nearly $70,000. I might have actually crossed 70,000 as of today. It's Monday as of filming this video, and weird things happen with the markets on Monday. I think we're gonna see ASICs make their way back into the market once again. But that's gonna be hard, because how do you create the ASIC when you have a semiconductor shortage worldwide? Remember, cars are smarter now. You've got brands like Tesla. You've got Porsche now making electric vehicles. You've got Chevy that's been making electric vehicles. You've got Nissan that's been making electric vehicles, or Nissan, depending on where you are. You've got electric vehicles making their way into the market. Audi, the e-tron. All these vehicles use computers to control their body functions, like lights and door locks. And you've got the ECUs, which control engines. But now you've got these fully computer-controlled vehicles where every asset of them or every facet of them is controlled through a computer. The demand through semiconductors has been high. In fact, the news this morning is that Chevrolet actually just shut down in Lansing, Michigan, the production plant that makes the Camaro and a few other models like the Chevy Malibu and a few of the Cadillac ATS models and CT, not the CT5 and CT4. I think those are still being produced, but they've shut down like 4 or 5 models on top of the models they've already shut down in other plants simply because they have the entire car being held up by the fact that the computers that control them are unavailable. So when you can see the automotive market being affected by the same shortage that's affecting the ramping up of production of the graphics cards, it's going to be difficult for ASIC builders to also get the components they need to build the ASIC, which will relieve at least the demand on graphics cards when they're going to want to increase their hash rate, which will take time to happen. So you're not going to see things normalize for a long time, simply for the fact that you have now this kind of a perpetuating circle of shortages happening, which is putting a demand on everything. TSMC is ramping up as fast as they possibly can. But the problem is there's actually a silicon shortage going on as well for them to have the raw materials to manufacture the things they need to make their alleviation happen. So you can see the sort of a snowball effect. Why am I making this video? Is it to be a Debbie Downer? No, it's to let you know what's actually happening and to give you an idea that if you are sitting there waiting, hoping that things are going to normalize this year, I'm not so convinced we're going to see things normalize this year. I'm really not. In fact, I think we might see 30 series and 6000 series for Radeon have its longest life cycle that we've seen of any generation of graphics card, because we are now 6 months into the lifespan of 30 series. And you still have to rely on either various Discord groups that have bots to tell you when certain things are in stock. You've got the waiting list like EVGA is doing with their queue. I wish I had better news for you. Okay, Jay, everything you've explained is with graphics cards. So why are CPUs really hard to buy and still out of stock? Well, that's for the first reason that I mentioned. People building their at-home offices and classrooms and computers or gaming rigs because they're finally doing it because now they're stuck at home and they want the entertainment. Those are just never produced in the same quantity of something like a graphics card. And of course, with the same shortages you need for the silicon to build your graphics card are also applying to CPUs. CPUs are not important when it comes to mining. It's all done on the GPU. The CPU just needs to be able to operate the motherboard and the operating system that you then get those specialized motherboards that can have like 17 graphics cards attached to them through like 1X or 4X plugs. CPUs are just shortage because of the fact that they are under the same supply and demand issue that raw materials and silicon is for TSMC. It's one of those things where we like to think that our little corner of the world over here with our gaming rigs are untouched by a lot of these world events, but unfortunately that's not the case. I've said it once before. Gaming rigs make amazing workstations because they're often very overbuilt versus what you need for a standard workstation. Unfortunately, gaming rigs also make great mining rigs. And the world has figured that out again. And with the amount of people now looking for creative ways to create income in a world that's very unorthodox now, when you find out you've got a gaming rig sitting there with a graphics card that's capable of potentially making you a couple $100 extra a month just by doing nothing but sitting there when you're not using it, it's making people go, well, I should build a rig just to do that. So you've got the huge mining farms and the little guys like us all buying up graphics cards for multiple uses because they are very dynamic in what they're capable of doing. So 2021 is probably going to be a shittier year than 2020 was when it comes to availability. And that's the real state of PC right now. If you've got some input on this topic, put it down in the comments below. If you guys have your best practices in terms of trying to get a graphics card for as close to MSRP as possible, what we're recommending right now for anyone that's looking at building a computer, it might make sense to just get it pre-built right now. I know that might sound very against the grain for the way we operate around here, but the reality is if you just want a computer at this point and you don't care whether you build it or not, you just have it, SIs or system integrators are still getting parts for as close to MSRP as possible. In fact, a lot of companies like NZXT right now, Origin PC, they're actually not marking up the parts hardly at all. Because of the fact that they would rather sell you the entire system because they still get them direct through the manufacturer at their MSRPs, actually at their wholesale rate, which they've had agreements with for a long time. So I actually did the math. I tried to see if you could buy an SI for the graphics card and part out the rest of the system. Is it worth it? Well, yeah, it is if it's costing you, $700, $800, $1,000 for a 1060 right now, which is insane. There's also a waiting list for getting computers from SIs right now. And everyone we've talked to, whether it be, like I said, Origin PC or NZXT, or even like CyberPower, iBuyPower right now, they have orders literally just exploding out the windows and doors of their warehouses because of the fact that they cannot build them fast enough for the people that are now demanding them. Our recommendation, believe it or not, right now is if you need a computer, talk to your SIs and see how long it would take to get one through them, because you won't necessarily pay through the teeth to get it. Anyway, guys, thanks for watching. I hope this video has entertained you. No, this video just made you sad. It's really just a sad topic, but it is what it is. Sometimes the state of affairs is not a good one, and that's where we currently are. We'll keep you updated as things change. We can all kind of hope for the crypto boom to just burst right now and then the bubble to pop. It's not gonna happen anytime soon. I don't think so anyway, as long as that price keeps going up. I mean, if it goes from 70,000 back to 30,000, I mean, is that really a bubble burst, or are you still winning at $30,000 a coin, which is absolutely ridiculous? Fake currency backed by ones and zeros and no gold or silver behind it is just crazy to me. But I still don't mine on any of my stuff out of a matter of principle, in my opinion. And that's just my principle. Speaking of principal, I've been called the principal's office a lot in the past, so that's a different spelling. Principal versus principal. Turn off the heater, Nick. Well, you have to put the temp down too. No, stop. Just push the down arrow on temp on the top one. There. That's fine. Just hit done. Push it harder. But that was also kind of I don't remember what sentence in the middle of words.